Do you want to learn how to take awesome travel photos like this for your Instagram? Well, today I'm going to show you guys how. What is up, guys? Today I'm going to show you guys how to take awesome travel photos for your Instagram so your Instagram can look like a beast. So without further ado, tip number 1, shoot in portrait mode. Basically on Instagram, when you want to post your photos, you have an option of choosing landscape or portrait, but it's always better to choose portrait mode because it takes up more real estate on the screen, and that means you're not competing with other photos top and bottom on Instagram, and it gets more attention. So that means more likes, more comments, and more followers, which is a plus point. Tip number 2, when I'm taking my photos, I generally take them during the morning, early morning, or evening, late evening, basically because the sun is more directional, so you get better lighting. I generally don't shoot during midday because I feel like there's a lot more contrast when the sun is directly overhead, so I don't get the best images. But if you have to shoot in midday, try to look for the best possible angle that will showcase your scene in the best way possible. Tip number 3, composition. So I'll give you guys 3 tips on composing your photos. The first one is the rule of thirds. Basically, if you divide your photo into thirds like this, if you put your subject in any of the thirds, you can get a better image than if you didn't put them in the thirds. The rule of symmetry. Basically, you put your subject in the center and both sides of the image are symmetrical. So you have a symmetrical image and that looks really good. And the final composition tip I have for you guys is leading lines. That's basically using lines in your scene to lead towards a subject, and that just generally makes the image more pleasing and allows the eye to follow around the image and get to your subject. So your subject is more accentuated in the image and your subject is complemented by the scene. So talking about composition, this leads me to my fourth point, whichever point, is lenses. Lenses are important. The kind of lens you use, there are 2 types of lenses. There's a wide angle lens like this, it's a 16 to 35, and there is a telephoto lens like the one that's on my camera right now, it's a 70 to 200. Basically you can achieve 2 different types of shots with different lenses. If you look at these 2 pictures, you can see that the background in the wide angle photo looks like it's really far away from me, but when you look at this one in the telephoto, it looks like the background has been compressed and it looks much more gigantic compared to the actual subject. So if you use a telephoto lens, it basically brings the whole background kind of closer to the subject, and when you use a wider angle lens, it takes the background further from the subject, making it look smaller. So you can actually use this to your advantage. What I really like to do is I like to bring the subject super close to my camera when I'm using a wide angle lens. The subject will look really big, but then the whole scene will be in the photo as well. So subject will look like this nice big subject in this huge scene. But you can also do it differently. You can actually have your subject stand further away with the wide angle lens and just grab this whole scene and make your subject look really small. Alternatively, you can actually use your 70 to 200 or your telephoto lens and then have your subject stand closer to you, and then when you zoom in, you'll have the whole background compressed and your subject will look really big as well, and your background will look really big as well, and you can get a really awesome looking shot. Tip number 5, when I talk about subject, I'm usually talking about human element. It's always a good thing to have a person in your photos so that you can showcase what the scene looks like in relationship to actually having a person in the shot. And it also makes the photo more relatable because if there's a person in the shot, it sparks emotions in other people looking at the photo that they wish they'd want to be there, and they'd actually enjoy the photo more than if there was no person in the shot. So if you want to be the person in your shots, remember to pick a tripod, especially if you're traveling alone like I did to Zanzibar. You can check out my vlog here. I went alone and I didn't pick a tripod, so I couldn't take photos of myself in front of these awesome doors that are in Zanzibar, and I was really bummed about it. So pick a tripod and you can just compose your image, go stand in the shot, self timer, and you get an awesome photo. Also with the tripod you can take really awesome landscape photos, because with landscape you generally have to increase your aperture and sometimes you may have to decrease your shutter speed, so having a tripod really helps with stabilizing your camera when you're taking your photos. Last but not least is post-production. Guys, if you want a really awesome Instagram, you have to make sure that every photo in your feed looks good, because when someone lands on your profile, they usually look at the grid. If your photos on the grid look same, then they're more likely to hit the follow button. I usually use Lightroom to edit my photos to give them a general look. I use presets, so basically I just need to slap on a preset and my photo will look the way I need. I can just give it a few tweaks, and then I'll take the photo onto Instagram and edit it slightly further just to match the rest of my feed and upload the photo. So guys, I hope that helped. I hope that helps you build your Instagram feed and make it freaking boss. So if you guys have any other tips regarding travel photography, make sure to comment them down below. I definitely love to learn from you. And if you guys found these tips helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Swim my little